This is the kind of thing that I think about every time I hear somebody play a drill music song, and this is what everybody should think about incidents like this, which are clearly the norm in the city right now. And what these guys gas up, this is the reality of it. So, two more young children, and this is something that I report on regularly, were shot by stray bullets while inside their homes on Chicago's South Side on Wednesday night. Chicago police said the boys are 3 and 8. So whether or not they were somebody's ops, I highly doubt. They were inside of a house. Both children were expected to be okay. And think about it, guys. Bullets flying through homes, hitting 3-year-olds and 8-year-olds. I mean, I'm not saying that they were aiming intentionally at these homes, or they were trying to shoot up these homes or anything like that. But where are these guys aiming at? The 3-year-old was transported to the hospital in good condition. The CPD said that the shooting happened near the 700 block of East 93rd just before 10 p.m., and police believe the 3-year-old was asleep in his bed when shots were fired from outside the home, injuring the child in the arm. At least 10 bullet holes pierced the home. 10 shots hit the home. Neighbors said some of those bullets even made it into their downstairs apartment, piercing the living room walls. Just about 15 minutes before that shooting, an 8-year-old boy was shot inside of his West Woodlawn home, and he was grazed by a bullet that pierced the wall as gunfire erupted outside of his home. He was not taken to the hospital, but this continues the startling trend of minors shot in the city this year. So Pastor Donovan Price said, "I heard the shots from my house this time, and I would never have thought that a child would be on the bad end of those bullets, but right now Chicago is on the bad end of those bullets." So just a couple days ago, a 12-year-old was critically hurt when he was shot in the head on the near west side. He's still in the hospital. Police said that it happened near West 21st Place in Wood Street. That boy and his uncle were walking back from a store when two people fired shots from a nearby alley. The boy's uncle fired back, and they said this is obviously a very tragic case. The uncle is a 21-year-old. He's not affiliated at all with any gangs. He has a valid concealed carry permit, and he actually returned fire in this incident. He doesn't believe that he struck anybody. So the Chicago police have 3 people in custody who say that they are affiliated with gangs, but it's not clear if they're the suspects of the shooting. So according to ABC7 Chicago data, there have been 255 kids shot in Chicago this year. 33 were killed. Remember this, guys. Every single time you hear a drill song, every single time you hear anybody talk about bang, bang this, slide on the op, blah, blah, blah. This is what happens, man. This is the reality of it. Keep this stuff in the back of your mind. That music will be totally unentertaining. And oftentimes, kids are involved, and we have an 11-year-old boy arrested in a carjacking attempt. He was allegedly involved in an attempted theft of a woman's vehicle. And this was earlier in the summer, but he was arrested, and police said the boy, who was not identified, was one of the people who tried to make a 48-year-old woman's vehicle turn around at 3:50 a.m., in a South Side neighborhood. He was arrested on a charge of attempted vehicular hijacking. The child was not identified by police. And children around that age, they said, have been arrested in carjackings in Chicago in the past. The police superintendent, David Brown, at a press conference, commented on the young age of people being arrested for carjacking, saying that half were juveniles. And many, he said, are repeat offenders. He called it a sobering statistic and said that the police vehicular hijacking task force would be expanded, but that it also shows the importance of resources for young people. So here's the thing, man. We're talking about resources and jobs and stuff like that. These are 11-year-olds. Then they mentioned another 11-year-old boy who was arrested in connection in January with the gunpoint robbery of a vehicle from 2 women in November. And last month, they said, actually that was in June, a 13-year-old boy was arrested in the vehicular hijackings of 3 rideshare drivers that occurred over 2 days in late May. So in May, a Chicago police officer shot and wounded a 13-year-old boy after authorities alleged that he fled from a car linked to a carjacking, and police have said that officers were trying to stop the stolen Honda Accord. Brown said at the time that the boy turned towards officers as they chased him on foot, and one officer fired. The Civilian Office of Police Accountability, which is investigating the shooting, has said that no weapon was recovered, and a federal lawsuit filed by the boy's mother in late May said that the child was shot needlessly, and then he put his hands up as commanded, and he was shot in the back. So here's the thing, man. Kids being out here in the mix of the streets, we know that bullcrap goes down with the gangs, with the police, with people just carrying a gun, regular civilians that have their stuff being robbed, and they just do too much. When people step into that street, anything can happen. and a lot of these are kids. But then on the flip side of that, a lot of the kids that are being shot are innocent too. And so this is a situation where, like, we look back on some of the more famous cases, like Little Yummy Sandifer and these videos that do like all these numbers. There's kids out there like that now. I mean, I'm not saying like on his level, but I mean, there's kids out there doing all types of crime in Chicago, man, at a very young age. That's when a lot of them get involved in the streets. And who's pushing them into the streets, man? I can't really think of any gangs that are comprised entirely of 10 and 11-year-olds. I know gangs that are comprised of like teenagers that, brag about the fact they don't have any big homies. But the majority of gangs out there, man, they're not all like 11-year-old boys. Okay, I know that's how some of these gangs started off, like back in the day, like the BDs and stuff. They started off at that age. But today, in 2022, the majority of these gangs, they have guys in their 20s, some even in their 30s in the neighborhood, okay, that, these young little guys are hanging out with. So somebody got to put their foot, on these shorties and tell them, like, this ain't 40. Okay, it's not technically for anybody, but especially for an 11-year-old kid, okay, you can't even tell like what an 11-year-old kid is going to do. Think back to when you were 11. Like the slightest thing that, wouldn't faze somebody that's older than that and more conditioned can spook an 11-year-old, and he just, is going to up that thing and start blowing for no reason. So, you're talking about like just playing Russian roulette with civilian deaths all over the place. And this is one of the things that's making downtown Chicago so dangerous right now. We got these juveniles out here, and a lot of them are high, off pills. They start doing these drugs at a young age. And it's just crazy, man. So, yeah, bear that in mind. And especially when you're getting carjacked too, remember, this could be a very young kid that's doing this to you. And however you're going to respond due to that fact is up to you. But just know, like, some of these kids are very young, man. And they're making these decisions, again, often under the influence of narcotics that have become commonplace and, again, glorified in the music. Guys doing the stuff in the music videos, bragging about how much weed they smoke and how many pills they pop and how much lean they drink. And it's just a disaster, man. Like, nonstop propaganda for this kind of bullcrap that ends up getting a lot of these kids killed, innocently and not innocently. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section. And by the way, guys, in this video, as you can see the neighborhood that I'm walking around, this is like the far northwest side. I'm not sure if I'm in Sauganash right now. I know Sauganash is a little bit to the west of this, but this area over by Mather High School, over by like Peterson, California, Bryn Mawr, this is an upcoming area of the city, man. This area, it's starting to get expensive. I know there's some units over here that are expensive, man, but there's still some stuff over here that's cheap. And this is an area that I'm seeing like on the brink of taking off as far as like prices, because the homes just to the west of this are really expensive. So if you're looking for an investment, if you're looking to move into someplace cheap, a place where the schools are gonna, start to get a lot more high performing and everything, I would take a look at this area over by Mather, man. The area has already improved a ton since when I was a kid. Mather used to be like a high area. That park across from Mather used to be a lot of gangs, the Assyrian Kings and stuff like that used to be around here, and it was like a violent area where there was a lot of problems, a lot of crime in the area and stuff. It's already improved tremendously, and it's still on that trajectory, man. So if you're looking for an up and coming neighborhood where it's still affordable, but where it's gonna get to the point where if you invest, you're gonna make a lot on the value potentially of your condo or your home. And where you can send your kids to a decent school area. Mather had already improved a lot by the time that I got there. From what I've heard, it's continuing in that direction. So yeah, look at this as an upcoming neighborhood, man, right over here by Peterson, California. A lot of Middle Eastern people, Vietnamese people, Hispanics, Jewish people. It's a pretty eclectic neighborhood, Arabs. So these immigrant gateway communities, they all go this way because the immigrants come over here and they don't have money, but they're telling their kids, we didn't come all this way for you to blow this opportunity and goof off in school. You're going to get A's and then you're going to go to medical school, et cetera, et cetera. So then the next generation does great. And, the cost of living in the area skyrockets. And this is typically how these immigrant gateway communities go. So take note. I'm showing you guys firsthand in this video. This is your boy Winnie City Report, and I'm out.